Good day. Welcome to another session of Fog Accountancy Tutorials. Today we are going to continue our study on bank reconciliations by solving a question that looks more practical for office situations. Okay, so the question we are going to solve is not a question that is in Word format, as in they've not typed the unpresented check is this, a check of this. Maybe they will tell you standing order payment was this during the year. They have not typed it in words. This time you are given a cash book and you are given a bank statement, and your job is to reconcile. Okay, so there are no words, just the figures, the account. And so you are supposed to trace and then solve. And so without wasting my time, let me just take you through the question and show you how to go about a situation like this, where you didn't get it in words, but you got an actual cash book and an actual bank statement. And that is going to help you more in the office. Okay. The cash book, bank column only, and the bank statement of Peace Enterprise are given below. So we have the cash book for 2014. Balance brought forward on the debit side, 1,000 Ghana cedis. And then we have a cash deposit on the debit, 1,000. Check deposits, 304. Cash deposit again, 1,630. Check deposits, 3,052. That is for the debit side. And then for the credit side, we have rent. Check number 115801, 250. We have Aseda, 232. Emra Deku with a check number 1138. Philomena with check number 230. And then we have Dakwana. The check number is there. Amount is 395. Katrina. Check number is there. Amount is 1,380. Vestel. There is a check number. The amount is 225. Insurance with a check number. The amount is 91.2. And then we have a closing balance, a balance carried out in the cash book of 3,044 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos. So that is the cash book, and this is the bank column. So in other words, it's a bank column of the cash book only. Then let's look at the corresponding bank statement. Now, in the bank statement of the same Peace Enterprise, they have the same closing balance of 1,000. And then on the debit side, there is a check withdrawal of 250. There is a cash deposit on the credit side. On the 14th, there's a check withdrawal. And then there is a dividend from EcoBank Ghana on the credit. We all know that on all those items on the credit side of the bank statement are receipts, like it's an increase in the balance, and the debit side is reducing the bank balance. So you can see them. We have check withdrawal, two of them. We have some traders credit, check deposit, standing order, charges, and then checkbook fees. So this is the bank statement as compared to the cash book. And the requirement is you are required to prepare an adjusted cash book showing the revised balance, which should appear in the books of Peace as at 31st January 2014. And then B, prepare the bank reconciliation statement as at 31st January 2014. Now, this type of question is more practical than the ones that we have done earlier. And what we have to do, and also, let me also add that this is also easier to do than what we did earlier. What am I saying is easy? I'm going to take you through, and then you see that whatever is on the debit side of the cash book is supposed to appear on the credit side of the bank statement. I repeat, if you look at the cash book closely, whatever item that is on the debit side of the cash book is expected to appear on the credit of the bank statement, because both of them are supposed to increase the balance. And then whatever you see on the credit side of the cash book is supposed to be on the debit side of the bank statement. And that is how we are going to identify inconsistencies. So if you want to identify your unpresented check and uncredited checks, you are going to use the cash book as a point of reference, so that if in the cash book there is a check on the debit side which is not on the credit of the bank statement, then it means that that check was not credited by the bank. Then it becomes uncredited check. If there is also some payment that we made by check on the credit of the cash book but didn't appear on the debit of the bank statement, that will be an unpresented check. We can also look at items in the bank statement which we know is also supposed to be in the cash book, which didn't appear. And then we are going to use that to update the cash book as well. And so let us begin to analyze this question together, and then we solve it. Okay. Now, let us begin to analyze. Please take note of something. We are going to look for items in the bank statement that did not appear in the cash book. And we are going to use those items to prepare the revised or the adjusted cash book. Then items in the cash book which did not appear in the bank statement will be used to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. I repeat, the items in the bank statement which did not appear in the cash book, we need to let them be in the cash book, and that is going to be the adjusted cash book. Then also the items in the cash book which did not appear in the bank statement will be used to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. And so let us begin to fish out the unpresented check and uncredited checks. Over here, it's not likely there are going to be errors, even though there are some questions like this, you can see errors where you have the same check number, but the figures in the cash book and the bank statement are different. Then there is an error. You need to correct the error. This question do not have such errors. I just want you to, first of all, understand the basic principles. Then maybe later we'll look at a question that involves errors with this type. Okay, so let us begin from the cash book. We are going to use the cash book to identify two things: unpresented checks and uncredited checks. So let us begin. So let's try and find our unpresented checks. And then also we'll find the uncredited checks. Now, let's go into the question. To find your unpresented checks, they are checks that has been issued out to your suppliers but has not yet been presented for payment. So what it means is that they are supposed to appear on the credits of the cash book. But the moment you draw a check and you issue out, you credit your cash book in an expectation that when they go and cash or withdraw, the bank will debit your bank statement. So if it is not on the debits of the bank statement, the implication is that they did not present it for payment. So we are going to first look at the credit side of the cash book and compare with the debit side of the bank statement. And if there is any check that did not appear, we call it unpresented checks. So let us look quickly at that. So let's start from the credit of the cash book. We have rent with check number 1158001, 250. So we go there, credit side, we have 250 there. So that is the same check number. Sometimes they may not bring the check number, but the names will be the same and all that. Then also, we are still on the credit. Our point of reference is on the credit side of the cash book. So the next one is ASEDA 232. As you can see, when we go to the debit of the bank statement, there is no figure like 232. We have 232 for ASEDA on the credit of the cash book, which should have been on the debits of the bank statement. But if you go through the figures on the debits of the bank statement, there is no figure like 232. So what it means is that ASEDA's check of 232 was not presented to the bank for payment. So that is our first unpresented check that we have identified. ASEDA 232. So that is it. This is very easy. But please, if you are not following, you will not get it. Let's continue. We are still on the credit side of the cash book. Emerald Dekus check 1,138. They did appear on the debit of the bank statement. So please, your focus is only on the credit of the cash book and the debit of the bank statement. And you are focusing first on the credit of the cash book. And then you come to check the debit. So the check of 1138. Yes, it appeared on the debit. So that one is the same check number. So it was there. Let us look at the next one on the credit of the cash book. Philomena, 230. We come down there and we realize that there is no 230 for Philomena. So that becomes, yes, there is a 230 on the debit of the bank statement, but that is a standing order. That is not, you see, the figures may be the same. The figures may be the same, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same check. Okay, this 230 you see on the debits of the bank statement is a standing order, which we are going to use later. So it means that Philomena's check is unpresented checks. So Philomena. Please, in case you are finding it difficult to understand, let me explain to you that our focus is on the credit of the cash book, and we are comparing with that of the bank statement. Like this 230 for standing order that we saw, you can be quick to say that that is also not on the credit of the cash book. Yes, but we are not looking at that now. For now, we are just focusing on the credit of the cash book. And then if there is anything on the credit of the cash book that didn't appear on the debit of the bank statement, we rectify. When we are done, we'll come back to the bank statement and use the debit also as a point of reference to check the credit of the cash book. So for now, we are in the cash book. We are just comparing to see what is not there. When we are done, we'll come to the bank statement also and compare what is not in the cash book. So please take note of that. So after Philomena's check, still on the credit of the cash book, let us look at Dakon Anna. The check number is 1158005, 395. Let us go down there. Do we have 390? Do you have 395 there? No. There's no figure even like 395. So Dakwana's check will also be unpresented check. 395. Then let's continue to find out. Katrina, 1,380. Katrina's check of 1,380. When we compare to the debits of the bank statement, there is no figure like that. So Katrina's check is also unpresented check. So you see how to identify unpresented checks. You look at the credit side of the cash book and compare with the debit of the bank statement. Any check on the credit side that did not appear on the debit of the bank statement becomes uncredited checks. All right. Now let's continue. Vestel, 225 on the credit of the cash book. Yes, it appeared on the debit of the bank statement as check withdrawal, 225. The check number is even the same. So that's one way to be sure is that when the check numbers are the same, it's the same check. Then insurance, 91.2. Yes, it can also be found on the debit of the bank statement. The check numbers are the same. And that is it. We are done. So it means that these are our only unpresented checks. You can say that, but there are other things on the debits of the bank statement. Yes, I'm not looking at them because that is not my focus. My focus is on the credit of the cash book just to discover unpresented checks. When I'm done, I'll come to the bank statement also, and then we'll look at things that are there which is not on the credit of the cash book, will be in the adjusted cash book. But for now, we are just looking for the figures for unpresented check, and I think we are done. So we are now going to look for the uncredited checks. And to look for the uncredited checks, you focus on the debit of the cash book and compare with the credit of the bank statement. This time we are going to focus on we are still on the cash book, but we are going to focus on the debit side of the cash book. And we are going to use the debit side of the cash book to compare the credit side of the bank statement. Because whatever is in the debit of the cash book must appear on the credit of the bank statement. And if it's on the debit of the cash book and it didn't appear on the credit of the bank statement, we call it uncredited checks. So you're going to look for uncredited checks. So let us quickly look at the first one. It's a balance brought forward. 1,000 is the same balance there, so we have no problem with that. Then on the fourth, there was cash deposit of 1,000. It should be on the credit side. Yes, it is on the credit of the bank statement as cash deposit. So that is 1,000. Then there was check deposit of 304. But I cannot see it on the credit side of the bank statement. And so this check deposit of 304, because it is not on the credit side of the bank statement, it is our uncredited check. So we have check deposits of 304. So you have to always do this to make your work easier. Then let us look at the next one. There is another cash deposit of 1,630, which is on the debit of the cash book but cannot be found on the credit of the bank statement. So the cash deposit was not credited. So it is just as an uncredited check, even though it's uncredited cash, but it's the same thing in terms of the effect. So the cash deposit of 1,630 will also serve as uncredited. It is not there. Then the check deposit of, the last one is check deposit of 3,052. Yes, it can be found on the credit side of the bank statement. So that is all. So it means that in this case, we have 4 unpresented checks and 2 uncredited checks. Please and please again, we just focus on the cash book, okay? We don't worry about what is in the bank statement that you also didn't see in the cash book. We are now going there. But for a start, I just don't want you to mix yourself up. If you lose focus, you are going to make a mistake. Just focus on the cash book first. That is it. Discover things that are supposed to be in the bank statement that were not there. Don't worry about things that as you are looking for, the things that are not in the bank statement. You may come across things that you see are also in the bank statement but are not in the cash book. Ignore. Just focus on what you are looking for. When you are done, you come back and use the bank statement also as a point of focus to compare with the things in the cash book. And then that will also give you the items that you are going to use to prepare the adjusted cash book. And I'm sure this is very understandable. So let us take note of these ones. We have 4 unpresented checks: Aseda, Philomena, Dako, Anna, and Katrina. And then we have 2 uncredited checks. So we are going to use this when we are preparing the bank reconciliation statement. So I'm going to also focus on the bank statement, and then we'll use that to prepare the adjusted cash book first. And afterwards, we'll come back for these figures to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. Okay. All right, so let us focus on the bank statement now, and then use the bank statement as a way of detecting things that are not also in the cash book. So let us begin from the debit of the bank statement. Now, we expect that things in the debit of the bank statement should also be on the credit side of the cash book. Now, if it is in an office situation, the credit side of the cash book will be the payment cash book, and then the debit will be the receipt cash book. So now, we expect that the things on the debit of the bank statement should be on the credit of the cash book. Now, our point of focus is the bank statement. So let us begin from the first one, 250. Yes, it is there as rent. Then on the debit of the bank statement, we see a withdrawal of 1,138. Yes, that is also on the credit of the cash book for Emerald Deku. Then let's just look at 225. Which is a check withdrawal, and when we check the credit of the cash book, it is there for Vestel, so it is there. Then we also see a check withdrawal of 91.2. Our focus is on the debit of the bank statement. So 91.2, let's verify from the credits of the cash book if it is there. And that one is also there as insurance payment. But we have a standing order 230. That is not on the credit of the cash book. So it means that this standing order of 230 will appear on the credit of the bank reconciliation. That is why standing order is on the credit side, because it's on the debit side of the bank statement. So we have discovered a standing order of 230. Now let us also move on. The next one is charges of 170. So that is also not there because we have exhausted. So you see that the charges of 170 is also not on the credit of the cash book. And we have some checkbook fees of also 50, which is also not on the credits of the cash book. So in other words, these 3 items are the only items that will be used on the credit side of the adjusted cash book. So when we come to also the credit side of the bank statement to compare with the debit side, the things that will not appear on the cash book will also be in the debit of the adjusted cash book. So I think I can go ahead and prepare the adjusted cash book straight away. But quickly, let me look at the credit side. So on the credit side of the bank statement, the first item is 1,000, which relates to cash deposit. I think it appears on the debit of the cash book, as we can see. Then there is a 63.4 representing dividend from EcoBank Ghana. That one is not found on the debit of the cash book. So dividend of 63.4. So this is the debit of the adjusted cash book. This is the credit of the adjusted cash book. So we move on. There is a 210 representing traders credit on the credit side of the bank statement. That 210 did not appear also on the debit of the cash book. 210. So traders credit is like a credit transfer. And then there are the final thing there on the bank statement for the credit side is 3,052. Yes, that can also be found in the cash book, as you can see on your screen. So please, ladies and gentlemen, going through the bank statement also, we just discovered that these things should have been on the debit of the cash book, but they didn't come. These things should have been on the credit of the cash book, but did not come. So we are going to adjust our cash book by bringing these ones, and that is what we call adjusted cash book. And then when we are done, the things that we discovered earlier, which were also in the cash book but didn't appear in the bank statement, will be used to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. And that is how practical this becomes. So let us quickly prepare the adjusted cash book. Then we will prepare the bank reconciliation afterwards. Okay. All right, so in the books of Peace Enterprise, let's prepare our adjusted cash book. And so we are going to begin the adjusted cash book with the balance brought forward, which is the closing balance of the original cash book. Please take note. Here, some students make mistakes. You are not going to pick the balance brought forward in the cash book, which is the 1,000. Look at it. No. We are rather going to pick the closing balance of the cash book to begin the adjusted cash book, not the original opening balance. And in this case, the closing balance was 3,044.8, which is a debit balance. It is a debit balance because the balance carried down is on the credit side. And therefore, we are going to get the brought down on the debit side, 3,044.80. So there will be a balance brought forward of 3,044.80. Yes. And then once we have brought the balance brought forward, then we can begin to pick those things we just discovered. On the debit side, we discovered that what was missing was dividend and then traders credit. So dividend from EcoBank, the value was 63.4. And then there was a traders credit, which is 210. Let me make the figures visible. 63.4. So that is all for the debit side of the adjusted cash book. There is nothing more to put there. And then we discovered some 3 items on the credit side as well that they were missing. So you see, when you do the discoveries, you write them down, and then you can now prepare your adjusted cash book. And then remember that we saw 3 things. Standing order payment. So there was a standing order that did not also appear. The value of 230. And then there were some charges of 170, as we discovered. And there were some checkbook fees. All are bank charges, but then they are separated. So let's just separate it here. 150 cedis. So that is all with the adjusted cash book. There is nothing more to add up. So let us balance off our adjusted cash. So you see that in this practical scenario, your job is just to discover those things from the bank statement, use them to prepare the adjusted cash book. So the things that you discover from the bank statement are to be used to prepare the adjusted cash book. And the things that the errors you discover from the cash book that were not in the bank statement will be used to prepare the bank reconciliation. And so the total of the debit side is 3,318.20. And that is the bigger side. And so we have our balance carried down on the credit side as 2,868.20. And so the balance brought down will be 2,868.2. And so this is our balance as per adjusted cash book. We are going to use this balance to prepare the bank reconciliation statement. Okay. So let's prepare the bank reconciliation statement. So bank reconciliation statement as at 31st January 2014. We are going to begin with the balance as per adjusted cash book. So balance as per adjusted cash book. And that is 2,868.20. And so just as we know, we add unpresented checks. So add what we discovered as unpresented checks. And they were more than one. So we realized that the unpresented checks were checks which were on the credit side of the cash book, but did not appear on the debit of the bank statement. And there were 4 of them, if you could remember or you noted them down. So they were a Sedas check of 232. So 232. And then also Philomena's check of 230 was not presented. So Philomena 230. You can include the check numbers as well. And then Dako Anna 395. I'm sure you noted them down. You can go back, reverse this video, and then you can look at how I got them again. And then finally there was Katrina's check, Katrina, which was also not presented, 1,380. So these were 4 checks that we discovered that they were unpresented checks according to the principle that we studied. And so the total of the unpresented checks is 2,237 Ghana cedis. So when we add that, we have 5,105.20 or 0.20. So this is our total. Then we take out or we less uncredited check and equivalents. So there were some of them, they were just cash that were not credited, but we still treat them like uncredited checks. Okay. And from our analysis, you can remember that we discovered just two of them. So we are going to list the 2 and then we'll use that. And then there were some check deposits that were not presented to the value of 304. You can refer that from the question. And then also there was a cash deposit that was not credited. So it should be treated the same way. At a value of 1,630. So these were our 2 uncredited items. Okay. And it's going to give us a total of 1,934. So we are actually subtracting the uncredited checks from the total here to give us the balance as per bank statement. And ladies and gentlemen, the balance as per bank statement is 3,171.20. Now, this is the balance as per bank statement. Let us go back to the question and look at the balance as per bank statement down there in the question. So if you look at the bank statement, you can see that on the last line of the bank statement, the extreme right, there is a final closing balance of 3,171.2. And that is exactly what we have gotten here in the bank reconciliation. So if you finish solving and you don't get the same bank balance, it means you made a mistake. There is something wrong somewhere. That is the reason why we say you are reconciling. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is how to go by a situation where you have a practical scenario where there are no words written, but then you are given a typical cash book and a bank statement, and you are supposed to reconcile. You can apply this principle in the office to help you with your bank reconciliations, and I'm sure you do just fine. Okay. Yes, and so this is the simplicity of it. Remember to subscribe to this channel if it is your first time. Comment and let us know what you think. Don't be selfish. Invite others to also benefit. Share the video, and until we meet again for another video, it's bye for now. Thank you so much.